Okay, so I haven't got myself a new mic yet, which means that every time I speak you will hear some slightly off-putting jet engines in the background, but that's okay. It's not ideal, but it could be worse. Today I wanted to just draw some of my highlights, or some things that I thought looked interesting from a recent holiday in Portugal. I'm going to be starting with, I wanted to do a bunch of smaller studies, but actually the more I look at this picture, the more I'm inclined to do a full page spread. It could end up taking up the whole 2 hours, but there's something about it I quite like. Sure, so I think it'll be quite nice. I'll quickly etch it out in pencil, and then once I've done that I will go over it in pen and then ink wash the picture. But first I need to work out the proportions of the image just to make sure that everything sits well. It's going to be a little bit lighter first, just as I add in the pencil lines. I also need to try and get the perspective right, though I'm not going to be using lines, so getting it to look natural might be a bit of a challenge, but that's okay. Because I haven't learnt enough yet about perspective to fully map out where each line should go and where each vanishing point belongs. So, though I have a rough idea for 1 point and smaller degree 2 point perspective, just winging it. Yeah, I was meant to finish the chicks page at some point on the front, and I will be doing that. I will be adding more chicks on the front page, just not yet. I fancied something a little bit different, but I will come back to it. Starting from here. Okay. So the image that I'm drawing was on one of our walks through Lisbon in Portugal, and there was this bustling area that had a view, and I say area because it was part of the city, but there's just something about it that felt very villagey, very towny. It was very quaint, and obviously a lot of the old Portuguese architecture there as well, which was really nice. And it was up on a hill, because Lisbon is such a hilly area, and it had this fantastic view out to sea, where you could obviously see the port and the ships going by. And I believe in the opposite direction in the distance, not too distant actually, was the castle St. George. Again, my memory is absolutely pants, so probably should write all these names down before I start streaming in the future. I guess I don't want to structure this too much, even though I'm structuring it quite a lot, because I still want there to be an amount of fluidity to the image. I want there to be a certain amount of movement and liveliness. Obviously that's always a bit of a challenge when the main focus of your drawings are buildings. That's okay. If at all you do notice the music is a touch too loud, please feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to turn it down or turn it up if you prefer the music. I've always found architecture to be quite fascinating. I don't have the patience or the skill yet to become an architect, and not something that really interests me, if I'm honest. I think it's incredibly impressive and I enjoy looking at the work, but it's doesn't hold the same excitement for me as an illustration or a fine art piece. Yeah, you can kind of see what's happening there. You get a rough idea. Yeah, this was really meant to only be a small study. There you go. Okay. Try and rub out as little as possible, really. Just because it's fine, but I feel like the more you rub out, the more chance for, rubbing little bits of rubber or whatever to get onto the work. Also, sometimes it won't actually rub out everything you've done, and then obviously you're stuck with those manky rub out lines which never look pretty, so you have to draw over them, otherwise the piece looks quite shabby. I find the buildings in Portugal to be, or at least Lisbon, of fascinating. I like the sort of quaint look, and admittedly I don't know any of the technical terms for the style of architecture, so I do apologise in advance. I do like the quaint, rustic, older look with those sort of slated roofs and tiled walls. I think it looks fantastic. Very unique, very European. Okay, so I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to put all the lines down. I just want to get the basics down. Once I've done that, I will work on jumping over or running over it with pen. I wanted to have enough information on the page that I could then work with. Quick tea break. Because the view is from down below, just going to make sure you include the sort of added details. So because we're looking up and to the left, I think, yeah, you need to make sure you include the underneath and the side of this part of the window or door. Otherwise it will start to look a bit unnatural. Not too keen on the angle there. Look. I'll bring it down a little bit as well. There we go, I think that looks a smidge better. So in the centre there's going to be a man leaning on a balcony. I wanted him a little bit higher, but I've moved the whole image down slightly, but that's okay. Somewhere in line with this. Not quite. plums. Okay, so it's behind this wall, but it's in front of this one. And obviously because I started daydreaming, I've not taken it far enough. So this should come, let me just adjust it for a second. This one should come all the way down here. And this one should go all the way there. And these lines posts have these little balls on top, or little spheres, should I say. But I just need to work out the placement of those. The weather in Portugal last week was, well, obviously Portugal is known for its lovely sun. And when I looked up the weather originally, a few months before departure, it looked to be about 22 and very sunny, which was nice. Then about a week before departure, the weather showed as rainy all 4 days, which you know is fine because it's an experience. Fortunately, it only truly rained for, I would say, about 4 hours on one of the days. It was very heavy, very heavy rain. But other than that, there was some light drizzle, but the sun came through quite heavily, which was nice. Forgot to put sun cream on, so being the complexion I am, I burnt to a crisp. But on the plus side, after the skin goes, it'll be a nice tan, hopefully. Then the gates have this little design where there's 3 downwards bars on each one. On here, because that obviously leans up against the wall. And as we bring it through, there's a line that comes through. Right through the middle, just not on these guys, and that means that we can then do an X in the middle. So the thing I like about these streams is that they are a bit of a challenge, really. Because obviously I know I can go over, but I try and keep myself to about 2 hours. And honestly, I'm quite a slow person. Always have been. You know, when it comes to customer service and my day-to-day job, or you know, organising stuff, or playing games or drawing. I find that I'm very slow, and I think that's because I overthink quite heavily on a lot of stuff, which makes me good at the job I am in now, which is nice, although I'm still slow. It's the same with games and stuff like that, but it's the same with art as well. I think because sometimes I get a bit cautious about just diving in there, sometimes that can hinder, I suppose, my speed, but that's okay, because that's why we do things like this. We have to be a little bit faster, and hopefully in the long run that will really help with development. If you do have any art-related questions or anything like that at any point, please feel free just to chuck them in the chat. I am no expert by any means, but I would be happy to make a fool of myself trying to answer them. Okay, a little bit more. I'm going to do a little bit of detail on the buildings, get the man in there, and then I'll jump in with the inks, because that's the fun part, really. I might add colour to this afterwards. I'm not 100% sure yet. I think I will see what happens with the inks. I'll see what it looks like, and then maybe I'll just add a smidgen of colour. We'll see what that looks like. Because we're getting closer to the horizon point, so lower down the image we get, the smaller the sort of view from underneath the bricks will be. Same goes for, actually no, not so much. I was going to say same goes for the left hand side of the bricks, but not so much. It's more, I mean, it would be if there was more of an angle to the image, but there isn't. Bricks here. Come to realise that drawing at this desk, I think it's the way I sit. It must be the way I sit. Actually, rather hurts my back. So maybe future streams I'll do laying on the floor or standing up or upside down. I don't know. That's a joke, by the way. I'm not going to do a stream laying on the floor. A lot of intricate details in the metalwork of these buildings. I think I'm starting to get pulled into the details again, which is fine if that's what you're after, but that is not what I'm after. I'm hoping to practice oil paint soon. Silly to say, isn't it really? I'm quite nervous. I think I'm nervous because you see all these fantastic fine artworks of art out there. And obviously you know that whatever you produce isn't going to look anything like that, at least not at first. So those first couple of illustrations can be a bit of a put off, I think, but it's just a case of working past that. Some foliage. Love it when you receive a text from a family member and you get concerned because it sounds very important, and it turns out to be about a meme or a game. Oh dear. This is starting to look okay, actually. I think once I start adding the ink and so forth, I think it'll really start to pop. There will be a lot of ink on this page though, so I'm a little bit concerned with whether the paper will be able to handle it or whether I'll have enough ink for the actual image, but if you don't do it, you won't know, will you? It's not normally that I work this large either. I'll give it a few more minutes and then I'll take a moment break, not from the stream, just from the drawing, and I'll bring a couple of pictures that I've worked on over the last few days. Nothing extravagant. I am working on a project on the down low at the moment, just because it's I can't really say, but it's a project for someone's upcoming event. Family, so that's always exciting. And if you know me and you are family, now you can be like, oh, hopefully it's a picture for me. Guess what? It's not. Or maybe it is. Keep you guessing. I was trying to work out what this was here. It's another chimney, which would make a lot of sense. I don't know why I was really struggling to understand what that was. I think it's because in the photo it's actually been destroyed, or at least somewhat. We'll leave it looking a little bit shabbier than its respectable cousin. Okay. building done. That building's done-ish. I put a little chimney in there. I'll make it a little bit shorter than it is in the actual photo, just because I rather want to include it in the final piece. That's going to be a lot of pencil rubbings afterwards. One moment, I've just remembered I left an ice pack in the freezer when it's burst. Okay, fantastic. You can always tell when someone's been texted because the parrot starts to make loud noises. Well, she starts to make phone noises like her phone's ringing. And do you know, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I think if it was my phone that sounded like that, I'd fall for it. 100%. He's standing somewhat in the middle of the railing. I think that's too low, so he's slightly hunched over, but not too much. He is around here, I'd say his head is here. Body. Obviously he's leaning. He's holding his phone, maybe? Maybe. And I feel like his ear there. If I can zoom in a bit more. Right, that is the furthest I can zoom, so I'm really going to have to You know, I've always had an issue with eyebrows. I find that I will start to draw them one emotion and I'll try and finish it another emotion, and it ends up being just this big, weird, mushy blob. The great thing about small pictures is that you don't have to worry so much if you don't make it look like a good person, because it's got that sketchy quality to it. And yes, what I'm going for here. He's a classy fellow, so he's wearing a nice check shirt. Although, to be honest, it was way too hot for a check shirt. I do suppose that if you live in that country, you're rather acclimatised to the weather, so perhaps it wasn't too hot for him. That wasn't too hot. I think it was mainly because of the walking and that sort of stuff that really starts to heat you up, I think. And as I say, because Lisbon is quite a hilly area, brilliant. So he's standing there, arms are crossed. This is a hard part because his legs sort of bend and disappear because he's leaning on them. But it's the fact he's not really putting his weight on these legs. He's just sort of he's putting the majority of his weight onto his arms. Okay, so the upper body is a little bit big, but you know what, this is going to be inky and maybe slightly caricature-y, so I've not got a problem with that. Secretly that's just me being a bit lazy, but we won't tell anyone. Almost 9 o'clock, so I think we will have been coming up to an hour on this piece, or just under. This would make a nice painting actually, but it's the sort of thing I'd be happy, more than happy actually, to draw again one day, just because there's something really peaceful about it. Just someone having a nice time in the warm summer's evening, watching the sunset with a cool glass of wine. And off to the side on the table, a cheese ball with some grapes. Maybe in the background you could hear the sound of traditional music being played at a local tavern. But no, that sounds lovely to me, because that's what happens when you get old, or older. You appreciate the peaceful moments and the pleasant moments much more, I think. Just got to add these windows. I'm getting to a stage where I can, and I know I can, but I'm getting antsy because I want to jump in with the ink It's just a case of knowing when to put that self-restraint into effect. I know that if I jump in too early without the restraints, I can just mess it up, unfortunately, but I think that's the whole point, isn't it? Got to know when to move on to the next stage. Pencil. It's the same sort of windows there. I can essentially just copy everything from a single line, pull it here, here, here. Once I start laying in those ink lines, if I make a mistake, I can't really go back. Okay, alright, so we've got some rough lines there. Just going to take a picture so I can pop that on the Instagrams a bit later. So I thought I'd take a moment just to not lean forward for a minute. Be nice. Also gives me some time to think about how I'm going to approach the picture and check the battery on my camera as well, because that one is a phone. So yeah, these are my pictures sort of from Lisbon, or on the way back from Lisbon. Didn't do too many. I was very busy, but I quite like the sort of activity feel of the pages, the sort of small works. I did this while in queue for I can't remember the monastery's name, but for the monastery, which was really nice. This I did based on a photo from the broken monastery, a different monastery, church or cathedral. That was on a train. I was just trying to sort of study perspective and get a grip. I failed, but I know where I failed, so I think that was a useful exercise. And then over here, because I did these two on the plane back, and actually on the plane ride back, one of the passengers decided to light up a cigarette in the toilets. And I mean, I've always wondered why there's signs in the toilet telling you not to smoke, because it just seems like common sense in 2022 that you wouldn't smoke on a plane, but this person did, and then had a panic attack, and then almost had the plane turn around to the nearest station. So that was exciting. But yeah, I guess that's the moral of that story. Don't smoke on a plane. So yeah, that was the other one I did, which was quite enjoyable. I started this one, so actually this is the same image, just smaller. So I didn't finish this, but this was the same thing. So you can see the little guy standing there on top of the thing with the surrounding buildings, and that was me carrying some bags. Yeah. So terms of the actual pen that I'm going to use, bit of a toughie. I think I'm going to use a fine liner along with what do they call it? Tombow. Now Tombow is a fantastic pen. It just relies on you being steady with your hand. So it just means I need to sort of watch where I'm, or how hard I'm pressing, should I say. I'm also out of ink on my size 1, so I'm going to try and work this with a size 3 and a 0.5, which should be okay. I think the 0.5 is a little bit small, but it should be fine. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking the battery for the camera. I'm going to pop the charger in, because the last thing I want is for the camera to die halfway through the stream. It's not the end of the world, but not ideal. I do actually have a graphics tablet as well, so I think at some point I'll do some digital streams, which might be a fun experience, because then you won't have this set up, it'll just be connected straight to the screen, and we can mess around and do some cool stuff, I think. Okay. I'm going to start with the guy. I'm going to start with the guy because I think he's the focal point, and once I work out how he looks, I'll be able to work out the rest of the image and how I want to approach the lines. I like this one because it gives you some depth. You can sort of do thick to thin. I'm just going to be quiet for a minute as I do this one. Just for reference, earlier I couldn't remember what the traditional Portuguese music was called, but it's called fado, which is sort of a Lisbon, I don't know if you call it speciality. Basically fado sort of originated because Lisbon is a port city, and obviously when the Portuguese were going around conquering parts of the world, you would have people that would leave for years on end, perhaps forever. People wouldn't know if their loved ones would return. And fado is a sort of sad, sweet, bittersweet music about the joy and excitement of that person going on to new ventures, but also the fact that they may never be seen again. Didn't get to listen to any while I was out there, unfortunately, but it's actually listed by UNESCO as a human sort of heritage cultural heritage thing. I can't remember what it's called, sorry. But yeah, apparently UNESCO also sort of class cultural artifacts, such as music or styles of art, or even I think the Arabic alphabet, as items of human significance, which is interesting. I didn't know that they did that. But UNESCO was more so about physical location. Just these small details that I really have to sort of be quiet, focus on, otherwise I always get worried I'll lose concentration and goof it up. I think he's maybe, yeah, he's a touch more cartoony than I wanted, but is what it is. Okay, I'm just going to start from here, work my way down there, and I'm going to be loose. I have to tell myself that, otherwise I won't be loose. Of course, the first line that I do for a building goes left instead of straight. But that's fine, because we're being loose. Trying very hard to be loose. Because my worry is that if I don't, then I'll draw this and it will look like a little colouring book, where's Wally sort of thing. And obviously that takes away a lot of the character. Okay, now there is a bit of texture here because there are tiles, so I'm just gonna... oh boy. Now that's loose. It's not necessarily loose that I like, but it's loose. Maybe it's just these fine liners, maybe I just need to give them up. See. There's something I like about these lines a little bit more. If we can... yeah. There we go. Yeah, I like that a bit more. That sort of looseness as opposed to that thick sort of line over line until it's straight, but actually the process of making it straight you've lost something and don't quite know what it is. I think it's the spontaneity, perhaps. Down here, and then we have more of those little bubbles, but it's sort of like this. Okay. So currently I'm just trying to pull the lines in as quickly as possible. As I say, I think I've done him too graphic and too bold, too tight, but that's okay. I think once I add the ink and really start adding in these loose lines, this roof here, I didn't add much detail in. Maybe I should have. Because obviously it's these again. These things here, I'm not entirely sure what they are. They're like a little box. I think there might be lights actually. I think there might be lights there. So that in the evening, obviously, switch on and make the place look even nicer than it already does. Impressive. I didn't get to see too much of Lisbon lit up actually, which is a bit of a shame. It was such a busy trip that most of it was spent sort of trekking around, and by the time the sun set, we're coming back from some sites, trying to get to the hotel or the hostel so that we can get a reasonable bedtime for another day of sort of trekking around and getting as many nights as possible. Which is really good fun, and it means the days are long and super enjoyable, but at the same time obviously you don't get much of that night time. Also, to be fair, during the summer, sunsets at 9, if you've got to get up at 8 in the morning, I'm not a morning person, by the way, if you've got to get up at 8 in the morning, then you want to go to bed at 12, it gives you about 3 hours. Now it depends on what you're doing. Are you going to see any particular sites, or are you going straight back for sort of a shower and a chill out before bed? We would go back, have a shower, make sure everything's prepped for the next day, make a plan of action, and then watch an episode of Stranger Things, season 4. Don't worry, I will not give you any spoilers. We would also watch Somebody Feed Phil, which is a series on Netflix. It's quite popular at the moment. Actually just been signalled for its 5th season, and before that his name's Philip Rosenthal, and he's the one that who created Everyone Loves Raymond. And before he did Somebody Feed Phil, he made a show called I'll Have What Phil's Having. But basically it's the same thing. Phil goes to these different places and tries food. So it's not anything that hasn't been done before, to be honest. It's just because he's quite a funny guy, and he seems like a nice, genuine guy. So obviously, it makes it a much more palatable show to watch. I mean, I'm not really into cooking shows or food shows as such, but you know, if I'm watching it with my girlfriend and sort of thing, it's quite nice. And as I say, he's a funny guy. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, brilliant. Kept those lines pretty straight, I think, so looking okay. As I say, it's a little bit tight up there, a bit tight here, but maybe I should have done a little rough with my pen first just to loosen up, but that's okay. Right, I'm going to go for this window, get that out of the way, and then we'll move over here, because my hand is slowly rubbing off all of the pencil. Note to self, don't hiccup while drawing straight lines, because they won't be straight anymore. Now this bit's going to be a bit tricky, so I'm going to go for a thinner pen. Well, I will do in a moment, but I need to do the railing, and the railing is quite intricate, as I mentioned earlier. See it, but I know that there is a little swirly thing, and oh gosh, another swirly thing, and then there's a swirly thing here that goes round, and a swirly thing here that goes round. Now I think I just replicate that. I looked away and I shouldn't have. Whoops, whoopsie whoops. Ah, plums. Well, that's okay. Okay, so that's what I've done for the railing. I'm not 100% happy with it, but that's okay. Maybe I can do something with the ink and highlight it with Tip-X or something similar to give it a sort of shiny metallic look. Okay, so over here, I think I should probably do the fence first. Going to do these orbs first. a lot of wires actually all over the place. The reason, other than I'm assuming sort of telephones and that sort of stuff, is because of the trams. And I love trams, I think they're great. I think it's a real shame we don't have them in London. So I understand that London is such a packed city that actually there isn't room for really much public transport infrastructure without digging everything up and starting from scratch, which would be very expensive, and at the moment this country doesn't really have. Anyway, I do love a good tram. I will be adding the wires in afterwards as well, or some of them at least. I don't think I'll add all of them because it can look a little bit garish, I think. And to be fair, in the photo and when you're in person, it really doesn't look garish, but because I'll be adding it over the top, there's a chance that I might add it slightly wrong, or because of how I've drawn the line density, it might look slightly off. So although this is the 3, it's somewhat running out of ink, I believe, which is actually a good thing for me right now, because it means that the lines are a bit scratchier, which means I can then play with how they look on the paper and give it a slightly looser feel, which I much prefer. 9:30 already. Wow. I need to speed up the pace. It seems the camera is disconnected. Not ideal. Right, let me just see if I can amend that. Okay, apologies. It's not ideal. Okay. So now it's showing it upside down, which is even less ideal, but that's alright. It's just another challenge. Let's try. I'm going to try and spin it round. This will look pretty daft for a second. Okay, you'll have to ignore the wire, please. Obviously not ideal, but we can work with that. In fact, okay, that's fine. Do you ever find yourself talking to yourself when you're concentrating on something? I do. Obviously not in a silly way, in a sort of, here's what I need to do, then I'm going to talk it through, and we go from there. I do that a lot. Okay, it's starting to come together now. Accidentally skewed the perspective so the bricks were straight. I should kept them at an angle. Didn't. Not the end of the world. I can't actually see who's watching the stream, by the way, but I know there's two of you. I know you've been here for most of it, so I really appreciate you sticking by. It's super nice. Obviously keeps me company as well, which is cool. Alright, so the lines are coming together. It's a little bit tight. I don't think I actually need to rub the lines out because I've moved my arm over it so much that it's kind of rubbed it out. You as I say, I'm losing a lot of my guidelines because they've rubbed off, but that's okay. you can see I'm just currently popping in as many of the lines as I can. Definitely making progress. Whether I'll make as much as I need to or not is to be seen, but we're definitely going to give it a crack. Can't believe how much just rubbing my hand over the page has completely gotten rid of my grid lines. Made a big old challenge. That's alright. I like a challenge. I don't know why sometimes you go to draw straight lines and your wrist just kind of takes you in a really bendy, wobbly direction. I think that's the issue, right, is that if you draw them with your wrist, there's going to be some give in the line. But if you draw them with your elbow, then usually they should be a little bit cleaner. Okay. Right, it is 10. The stream is running at 1 hour and 52 minutes. I could jump in now with some inks, or I could jump in with some inks at a later stage. I think that's probably what I'll do. It also gives me some time to think about how I want to approach the picture. I think, if I'm honest, I'll probably, as I said before, I'll ink it. Maybe add some additional lines. Once I've added the ink and it's dried, maybe I'll add some watercolour over the top, because in the photo this background building is a nice bright yellow and that's a nice red. So it'd be really cool. That's like a mustard yellow, so it'd be cool if I could include that. But obviously I don't quite know yet whether I will or not. Or maybe, if I'm feeling brave, because I'll have 2 hours next time, I could try and paint the whole thing in watercolour. Or maybe jump in with no, probably not gouache, because if I was going to use gouache I would have not added black pen. Yes, I think that looks okay for the moment. And then yeah, as I say, inking will take me quite a bit of time, so will painting, so I'll probably jump that in next session. As usual, thank you very much for coming by for the last couple of hours. It's been really nice of you. It's always good having people with you when you draw. You never know in the future when we have some more people that can join us drawing. I'm sure it'll be even more enjoyable. And obviously once I start getting some questions and whatnot in the chat, I can bounce off them and you know, hopefully answer some art related questions, some non-art related questions. You know, what's that thing behind me? I'm not going to tell you unless someone asks. It's not that interesting, but you know. And yeah, I've got my art shelf here as well, so if there's ever any questions about sort of what's up there, then yeah, we can always jump into that and we can run through it together. But yeah, as I said, I really appreciate you guys stopping by. It's been a really good session. Some things have worked, some things haven't, but obviously that's the joy of trying new things. So yeah, we'll pick this up again either Monday next week, or if I get a bit of spare time, I'll do something on the weekend, but looking likely that'll be Monday. Alright, have a good week guys. Thanks for stopping by.